Welcome to Real Money Talks. Real strategies from the moneymakers and the world changers that you can use to make millions, keep those millions, multiply your wealth, and build your team. Here's your host, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View, Loral Langemeier.
All right. After that, Loral, boy, we have a really good idea what you're all about. Now, I got to tell you, moving from and jumping from solopreneur to entrepreneur is a big deal for a lot of people out there. And really, the rewards are incredible. And if we can teach people the value of being able to move and actually create assets that they could once sell, they could actually sell their business, make a whole lot more money. And It's a whole lot easier to do this, isn't it? Being an entrepreneur than a solopreneur.
It is. And I'm going to use, when I ever hear the word solopreneur, I hear the word suffering, because you can't do anything by yourself. Like just to run a company. So I'm just going to kind of jump in. Just to run a company, you need to market, you need sales, you need accounting, you need fulfillment, you need some operations, you need technology, customer service, and you're going to do all this.
I'm already exhausted. But
I'm already exhausted. I'm like, I can't even do it. So when people say, I'm going to be a solopreneur because I just want to do this little thing, what they don't realize, and I'm going to use the word synonymously to it, called the side hustle, because everybody's given a lot of energy to the side hustle. I'm like, again, suffering. Like to do anything right, you got to give it some attention. You got to give it some focus. You know, from Think and Grow Rich to my books, The Millionaire Maker. I mean, there's not a book of successful people that say you can kind of halfway go in. You can just kind of do a little bit on the side and all of a sudden it's going to be remarkable. I mean, you know, a lot of the language I'm going to use is side hustle to a hustle. Because to me, the hustle is an entrepreneur. Somebody's going to build a company. They're going to build a team. They're going to get funding. They're going to have a business plan. Like you don't need a business plan for a side hustle or a solopreneur. You just got to get up and do some stuff. So.
Yeah, but you can only extend beyond yourself. When you're a solopreneur or you're doing a side hustle, you can only scale to the level of what your ability can do in an 8, 10, 12, or 15-hour day. And that's it. The other problem is you can't resell yourself. When you built up this thing and all of a sudden you have this asset, and then when you go away from the business, like being a lawyer or even a doctor, it's like, what do I sell? I have nothing to sell. Drives me crazy.
Well, and part of a solopreneur also is they tend to do stuff on the cheap. Why? Because you don't have enough money to pay for anything.
Right.
So you're typically not making enough money. You're not even working inside of a corporation. So if you really want to get rich, right? And for those of you who, again, really want to know, like I'm the millionaire maker, we are 3 to 5 years is our promise. Right now with this volatility from the pandemic, I've got 12-month, 18-month, 20-month, 24-month millionaires. It is not difficult, but you got to go for it. You have to have a company, an LLC, a limited partnership, S Corp, C Corp. And if you're calling it from around the world, I have taught these principles in every continent but Antarctica. It all is the same. I just talk in a U.S. conversation, but I'm married to a Canadian, so I say I'm a Canarican, so I know
you qualify.
I know how to do that country too.
You're international right there.
I'm very international, but it's so serious, Ken. Like most people think they can just kind of do, you know. I started this whole thing and became a millionaire as a single mom. All right. I got pregnant with my son, Logan, who's now 22, and said, I got to get to it, and did a majority of my whole, development in this has been as a single parent.
Yeah.
So there's no way you do that as a solopreneur. There's no way you do a little side hustle and I'm going to work at home for a few hours and why make ends meet when you can make ends? I mean, you can
make a lot of money. You must have had a compelling event to drive you, your son, to drive you into, hey, how am I going to figure this all out? I'd love to understand how you kind of took your earlier days and figured this out for yourself as well.
Well, growing up in a farm in Nebraska, I never grew up with this conversation. At 17, I was given the book Think and Grow Rich by Dennis Waitley. I was at an event. I still don't remember how I got to the event, but it was fun given that book. And then that's when I was really defining, oh my gosh, people think like this. There are people who there's another world that I'd never been associated to. So from there, that led me to Bob Proctor very quickly. I mean, I was 21 years old being mentored by Bob. Wow. And then, through him, just met the gang, right? I've worked with Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, you name them, right? That's how I got to The Secret. And Sharon Lechter, 1996, Bob introduced me to Sharon Lechter and Robert Kiyosaki. So I was part of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad team. I actually was the master distributor of the game. And so I just knew this was my path. Now, before that, I actually took a little, stint through the health world. I have a master's in exercise physiology. I built fitness centers on offshore oil rigs for Chevron. So I did the corporate thing for a minute, hated it, wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I literally jumped out of a job into being in the Rich Dad Poor Dad group. And then 1999, got pregnant and knew I was going to be a mom. He wasn't ready or didn't want to be a dad. So here we go. Rolled up my sleeves and I said, I've learned enough. I know enough. But I do something inside my books, Ken, that's called sequencing. You have to do the right thing at the right time. So really early and getting kind of back to our solopreneur or entrepreneur, if you're not doing the right thing at the right time, and I start with corporate structure. And like literally inside, and I actually have 2 slides I want to show some folks to give them just an easy visual of what I'm talking about. So Steve, if we want to jump to the employee versus corporate income slide, it's just a really quick slide that's just going to show everybody how, because in a lot of ways you can say, well, I'm not an employee. Yeah, but being a solopreneur, it's almost the same because you're operating under your social security number.
You absolutely are. And unfortunately in the world, I was just talking to a friend literally last night, and I said to them, it's like it is literally the worst thing to be in America and possibly in other countries as well, is an employee. You pay the most taxes, you get the least return. This is just striking home. Please, I can't wait to see this slide.
Yeah, so go ahead and put this slide up. So this is how we're taught, right? From 1933, the industrial age, school system, blah, blah, blah. And then the whole history of go get a job. And you think that 2010, 11, 12 would have crushed this, but it didn't. It took the pandemic. And even now, people still think this is going to be like the path. And so if you notice on this slide, this is what we're taught and why it's so difficult to jump across to live corporate life. And so I actually say, I don't teach like a program, I teach a lifestyle, because once you start living corporate life for you and your family, you don't go back. And so let me show you this and then we can dig in a little more questions. Cool. So this is American numbers. If you make 80,000 or more, you're in the top 25% of income earners. And that's a 2 household family. So don't tell me that's a lot of money. No, when it is the worst kind of money because it's the most taxed. To your point earlier, it's the most taxed income. So 40, 50%. You put up these numbers in Canada, it's 50 to 60%. Oh, but they have free healthcare, horrible healthcare. No, I mean, you don't even want that. But then you have this funny little vehicle called the 401k. So the very people, this is hysterical, the very people who paid you your check and took all the taxes out are going to you're going to hand them back your money and say, here, some other employee that works here should invest my money. No, millionaires should work with your money, right? Other alternative investment specialists should work. So people just get trapped in this little pattern. Then they go on vacation, and then they are taught, and this is honestly because Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman get a lot of press, but debt and credit cards are bad. There's nothing farther from the truth. And then everyone thinks retirement's a goal. Retirement by definition is an agricultural word that means to put cattle to pasture to die. Bad goal. And then you file taxes in April. So this is what we're taught. This is what's real. If you want to be rich, wealthy, and this is really, you can say, well, what's different? Go ahead and put the corporate income up. And then I want to compare the solopreneur because it's right down the middle and it doesn't give you any benefits. So companies make money. Now here's the easiest way I teach it. Companies make money. Your S Corp, C Corp, LLC, those are names. If you're listening from other parts of the world, you might have a proprietary limited or a corporation or a partnership or limited proprietary. You can tell I've done this all over the world. I've had these companies all over the world. But your company makes money and individuals get taxed. Right there's the game. So as a solopreneur, you're not getting any benefit. You're getting a Schedule C, which is about 20, 30 little deductions. When you are a company and you make money, an entrepreneur, true entrepreneur, a hustle, right? Yeah, 81,000 pages of tax code. And then a solo 401k is your own company. So like your own S, your own C, you can have your own qualified plan. You control it. And it's a huge deduction. $56,000 can be put away for yourself in that. You'll never go on a vacation again. I'm going to teach you how to do everything with business trips. Your children will work for your company. Your children will have Roth IRAs. Debt and credit cards are critical. I mean, my gosh, we are not, digital currency is not coming. It's here. And guess what it looks like? A credit card. So if you have an aversion to debt and credit card, especially now, I mean, SBAs, EIDLs, all this money is free. It's free. And you're not taking this free money and investing it for more money. I got people arbitraging those EIDLs all over the country. And then you never retire. You are free and you file tax. Here's the big one. You file taxes. September is your corporate filing. October is when you file. So I can just ask one question, Ken, and I know exactly where people are. So when do you file taxes? And they'll say April. I'll say, yep, you aren't living corporate life. So this is a lifestyle that we are a family-based organization. I have my son's now 22. He's becoming a CPA in finance, and my daughter's 15. And we live corporate life. I have a book coming out, How They Became Millionaires, How I Made Them Millionaires. That'll be out in April of 2022.
Very cool.
When we're launching right now, it'll be out. So it's critical. So when you say solopreneur, it's right down the middle, because you're still operating under your Social Security number. You're still paying, you still have one source of credit. See, each company can have corporate credit. I mean, when people say they can't get money, I know they don't know what they're doing, because there is so much money available. There's funding available. There's corporate structure credit available. There's so much available if you knew how to do it right. So do I have a little bit to say about solo versus I have a lot?
Well, you're kind of caught in the middle a little bit as well. As solopreneurs working really hard, it seems like they don't necessarily have maybe some of the benefits, if you will, of a company or the security of a company. They're working even harder, and they're in the same boat. And this is particularly true with the gig economy. I mean, the gig economy and having now everybody wanting to be, quote unquote, they say an entrepreneur, but they're really just consultants. And there's nothing wrong with it, by the way. I mean, I don't want to downgrade anybody that's doing it, but can it be a pathway to entrepreneurship to get to where you just talked about on the screen?
It can be. I would just encourage people to go there quickly. Fast. Go as fast as you can. And the only way I know how to do it is to tell, like, I've had a mentor since I was 17. I get mentored. I still have mentors. I cannot imagine being in business and money when there's no school that teaches anything that I just showed you on that screen. No school teaches that. My son is getting a double degree and a minor, right? Huge school in Georgia, right? Finance, accounting, management, not been taught one thing I just taught you on that screen.
Right.
You've been taught how to be an employee, for somebody else, but not run those companies. That's where he has to come home to mom.
So really what you're talking about is changing the mentality from, like, right now. So I know some of our audience, they are solopreneurs. That's why I want to make sure that they understand that if they are already there, they can make the leap. So I want to understand how they can do that. And if they're contemplating and saying, I don't know where to start yet, we have some folks there as well, then where do you start? Can you start right with the corporate income?
Have to. In fact, those who upgrade to the VIP with us are going to get a complimentary session with my corporate entity team.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome, by the way. Wow.
Yes. And you don't want to go to LegalZoom or the $99 store or any of those things, because you don't get all the corporate documents, and the banking regulations are so significant. When you walk in, they're going to want your operating agreement, your Secretary of State has to be done right. Your compliance has to be done right. So it's a little more money, but it's done right. And a lot of those are just going to like click off an LLC. It drives me crazy. I get a lot of people who made that decision, Ken, to go from solo, and they just go do it by themselves. And then we still got to clean up that little mess.
You need to get some guidance on this. Yeah. Because if you set it up wrong to begin with, then you just have headaches down the road. So there's the part one is just getting it set up right and set it up. In other words, it's got to be an LLC. It's got to be a C Corp, an S Corp. It's got to be something that, and by the way, a lot of entrepreneurs, I get asked this question all the time. Should I be an LLC? Should I be an S Corp? Should I be a C Corp? I don't know if you want to tackle that in today's session or not, but I'm just curious.
I'm going to let everybody who goes to VIP is going to have a one-on-one. This is not
so they'll get guidance there.
But I'll give you some clues. Okay. I used to have a 415 area code too. I lived in San Francisco. I love California. I hate it for corporate structure. So depending on, there's about 4 or 5 states that are rough. They're rough to live there. So I moved to Nevada right away, lived in Lake Tahoe, had to grow my family on the Nevada side immediately, because of not only state taxes, just your ability to move, right? I'll say that. So LLCs are good for real estate. I can tell you, for investments, you want them for operating. Like if you and I did a project together, we'd probably have an LLC. S Corps are good operating companies. Just I'll give you general terms. Here's a big one, big one that most people don't talk about is the C Corp. The C Corp is not a flow through. It's a complete independent. And most of our advanced clients, they'll put their database, which is sellable. They'll put their brand, they'll put their IP, like that game. I have a Millionaire Maker game. I have 5 New York Times bestsellers, all inside the C. All my URLs. How about that? A lot of you don't even protect your URLs properly.
So it's all protected in the C Corp.
Totally protected.
Got
And,
it.
and here's the real strategy. Guess who does business with your C Corp? Only your companies.
Ah, got it.
Highly protected, highly protected. So, I mean, we're the most litigating, ridiculous country in the world, but
Crazy.
yeah, but that C Corp, when it doesn't do business with anybody but your other companies, it gets it pretty protected, which means your database, your intellectual property, your URLs, like the most significant things that are important to you, doesn't do business with the front facing public. So they can't be sued, they can't be liened, they can't be, taken.
This is basic 101 protection, and keep yourself clean, and make sure in terms of, I want to talk a bit about building assets as well, because, when you're a solopreneur, you don't think about building assets. You're out there serving whoever you're serving every day. I'm all into like assets. I'd love to get your perspective on what does that mean? Because I got to, at the end of the day, have something to resell. Otherwise I don't become a millionaire or a billionaire, right? I think.
Correct. Well, and the fastest way to become a millionaire, and I talk about this a lot when people first join us, is you got to break the pattern of making spending. Like as a world, we're in a make, spend, and no one puts money away. The pattern has to be make, invest, and not make, save. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to save it. No, save for what? Save for what? Saving is a horrible word. It's like budgets or like diets.
Wow, that's it. This is interesting, because this is exactly the opposite of what we're taught.
Totally opposite. Like, what's a savings? Like saving for what? A rainy day. That's just BS. Like there's no sense. Like what? So you're going to get an umbrella? I mean, I just kind of get real literal about it. And I say like, all that's crazy. So you're going to invest in what? So one of the first activities I give a lot of my folks who say, I want to be a millionaire, or they're a millionaire and want to go bigger, is if you had $1 million, how would you invest it? Not spend it, invest it. Would you buy real estate? Would you buy an RV park? Would you buy storage? Would you buy crypto? Would you buy a Ford dealership or an auto dealership? Would you buy the auto body shop in town? Would you buy the coffee shop? What would you buy? And it's just like that red car theory. How many red cars did you see today? You're like, well, I haven't seen any. All of a sudden you see red cars. It's the exact same thing with asset allocation. If you don't say, I'm going to go buy real estate, guess what? You're never out looking. If you don't say, I want to go buy an alternative investment, you're never out looking. So I have my clients really get clear. They can change their mind, but make a decision that making and investing is the pattern to wealth. Make it and put it away. Invest in something where it's, got 10, 12, 18, 24, 40%.
So invest it. And do you believe that if I invest in my business, and I very much believe this myself, I actually don't invest in other businesses per se. I invest in the stock market, I invest in the bond market, I invest in real estate. I get asked a lot of times to invest in companies, and I say no, because this is just me, and we've never talked about this before, but I kind of say, I'm investing in my business. I love your business. It's great. But I want to put all my resources in developing, and I don't just have one business, I have multiple businesses. I want to put my money in myself. Is that a good idea? And how does that
balance it? In the beginning, you do. Later, you want the diversification, because if something happens to you, then and you're a cog in the wheel. Now, if you're just a chairman or sitting on board and things are moving, then that's different. But if you are the cog in the wheel and it requires you to churn and burn, then it gets rough. So I'm actually a huge shark. I mean, I got businesses with Kevin Harrington and some of the other sharks. Like I've been sharking for a while before they gave us a name. So I do like it, but I know how to run companies. So I like staying up above, though. I don't get down in the operational detail. I'm usually the marketer. I love to sell. I mean, that's just what I do.
What you do.
But also selling is capital raising. So I love teaching people how to break that pattern. I love educating. So the other thing, and to speak to that, like I always say, I do about 3 to 5 things really well. And back to that solopreneur, you should only do 3 to 5 things really well. So I am of the belief, which almost every mentor that has taught me, strengthen your strengths, hire your weaknesses, which means you got to make enough money to hire the team if you're not good at it, and don't get good at it. Don't go to class to go learn bookkeeping. You hire that. I mean, I have a finance accounting degree. I don't do bookkeeping anymore. I oversee it. I don't do it. I don't put my hands on the keyboard and go tippy type to the invoices. I don't even know how to log on anymore.
You're not adding value in doing that. You're probably not as good at it as other people that do it every day are.
Yep.
And what you're good at, you want to apply all of the time that you have to building your business as well. I'm curious to know how does one kind of like, let's say I don't have a lot of money, and that's why I've been stuck in solopreneur land so long. How do I break out of that and get into the entrepreneur? I know I have to take some risks, so I have to be emotionally ready for that, but also financially ready as well. How do I do that?
My first funny answer when people say, what do I do? I say, go make money.
Yeah.
And so
it's actually really true, by the way.
Go make it. And so actually the gift I'm giving folks at the end it's called the Millionaire Intensive. And it has a marketplace attached to it where people come and you will be taught to make money through Zoom online during the event. We've had thousands. I have like our world leader so far. We started this ever since the pandemic, April 2020. We brought back out and dusted off what we call my 3 days to cash. And we teach you a very specific way to interact to make money, right? I'm going to ask you what you want. I'm going to tell you what repeat to you what you need. We're going to have an alignment about that. And I'm going to ask for money and be very clear about it. And as a woman, I think women, they always say, well, if you're interested, call me. No, that's not a sales technique. Nobody's going to call you if they're interested. You have to sell them. You have to create value. So I'm going to teach them how to make money. And it is the strategy. You have to make money. The challenge I see with a lot of solopreneurs, because if you think about that slide I showed, we're so employee trained. Right. So I don't know how many clients I get, they're writing their book. And I said, well, did you sell your book first? Well, no, it's not written. I said, exactly. You need to be pre-selling it to see if the market even wants it.
Right.
Why are you building an 8-week webinar that no one's paid you for? Why are you building anything that no one pays you for? So I am a very aggressive, go make money, pre-sell, make deposits, make sure that people want it in the market, then go build it. Build it. I guarantee they're not coming. Now you're stuck with something that's fixed. I don't know how many clients I have that have books. And I'm like, and you didn't pre-sell any of them? Like we're pre-selling thousands of our book and we've got over 4 months to launch yet.
Right.
Thousands and thousands of books. And then we focus group. We went back out to our buyers, our pre-buyers and said, hey, so excited you got the book. What would you want us to talk about? I'm gonna tell my story about how I made my kids millionaire. My partner's gonna say how he made his kids millionaires. What do you want to know about how to make your kids millionaires? And then you get input. So guess what? The final edits are going in the second week of January.
Right. So it's already incorporated. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that it's going to be a bestseller. That's how I nail them.
And you know what? Entrepreneurs make this mistake so often, which is build it and they will come. And it's like, no, and I recently started a software business. It was about a year ago. And we probably spent, 6 months before we ever put a line of code in, just talking to people, equivalent to maybe a consumer focus group. We just did B2B. And I called everybody I knew. I got out to LinkedIn. I called people I didn't know. And I just started pitching them the idea. And I'm watching and I'm still doing it right now. Now that my MVP is going to come out in February, I'm still talking to people and I'm like, I didn't think of personalization in the way that you're talking about it. While it's in the product, I'm not even talking about it in my deck. That happened yesterday morning, right? Exactly what you're talking about happened to me. Entrepreneurs need to be able to finesse or solopreneurs and entrepreneurs need to be able to finesse their business into what's called this is a technical term, the product market fit, right? That people you gotta solve a problem, right? I'd love for you to talk a little bit about it because entrepreneurs trying to get to that problem. I have to tell you, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs on their business plans and other things, and actually trying to get to the actual problem they're trying to solve, they struggle with. I'm wondering your perspective on that.
I would agree. And here's the other part that I would expand to is they solve a problem. I solve the problem of people learning money, right? Let's just put some simple terms, common sense. Yes, what is money? How do you work with money? What's a P&L? What's a balance sheet? How do you create and fix patterns? What I would consider debits and credit cards, credit. All this stuff. But where do you taught? You're not taught any of this. But it's evolved, right? And I think too many people solve a problem and then they haven't evolved the conversation of the problem. So I would be remiss to not bring in cannabis, hemp, cryptocurrency, all of this is part of money, especially digital currency. It's going to be how we're going to transact. So I think a lot of people who solved a problem before, they don't know how to be agile to continue to solve the problem that's today's problem in the conversation about money, about whatever you're solving. So I think I think a lot of people are stuck because they're solving an old problem.
An old
It's
problem.
hard.
Yeah. So you have to continue,
Old
even if
problem.
you're in business right now, we got entrepreneurs that are in business right now. They've been in business maybe 5, 10, 15 years. They have to continue to evolve their business plan, the problem they're solving, the solution has to be manipulated. Otherwise they kind of die, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And to your point, like what problem is exactly like what you've been doing, what I teach people to do is you have to get out and talk to people. You cannot go into a little vacuum. You can't go into your little room. You can't go to an island and go write a book or make up a product. You have to be out with people. What are the problems they're having? What problem can you solve? And I'll tell you where most people that don't want to have and build a big business, they're missing what I call the common sense. Like there's so much common sense business. People need help. Like, I mean, moms that are like, that want to be entrepreneurs, right? They need help at home, right? And so I hire somebody else's company. I don't, I have a ton of home help. I don't do any of that. You know what? And their company works for my company. My company is a client of their company. So when you think company to company relationship, you really start redefining how things work. But think of the simple things that people have problems with. Right? They need a lot done for them.
Yep.
And I think too many people, again, they want to have some, magnificent new thing. And I always say, a lot of money's made in the basics. You know what? People need they need their pool cleaned. They need their lawn mowed. They need their kids drove around. They need a lot of basic stuff that's not difficult companies. And I got millionaires in every one of those categories.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. That's where the real money is made. I mean, everybody, and I'm out here in San Francisco and people fantasize about being, the next Apple, the next Elon Musk, the next whatever. And it's kind of like, yeah, there are those inventions and there are some cases where there's this evolutionary or revolutionary, I should say, but a lot of business and a lot of business ideas are just tweaks on existing ideas that you're kind of just shaping into your own, some of them mundane. You can make a lot of money in mundane businesses, right?
A lot of money in the boring stuff. And people say, I have to have the sexy stuff, the intriguing stuff. It's like, no, some people, it's just the boring stuff. It's
what? And if you get the underlying foundation right, then you can actually build some of that, because you can, as you get your foundation of your company going, then if you want to have an offshoot possibly of something that differentiates, you should always be differentiated no matter how you're going at it, but something that's new and unique or something that's a little bit out there, you can test those things because you have the resources in which to do it, right?
Correct. And I'm going to say, I got to speak to one that's super mundane and highly needed tutoring.
Yep.
In this environment with the amount of people Zooming and the kids and the parents don't know how to teach, there's like a methodology to learning behavior. And so teachers, parents trying to do this, I'll tell you and they don't even have to be a teacher to do it. That's the good news. If you just love the teaching and are good at it. From my son, he was making $75 an hour being math tutor. Yeah. I got people that I always say the bell curve. Right, the special needs and the special gifted, like those, there's so much money. And guess what? Out here in this environment, you don't have to have a teacher's license. You don't have to have any of that. You just have to be darn good at what you're doing and create a result for people. There are so many. Again, I always go to the basics because so many people want that sexy thing. And I said, we'll get to the sexy thing. But here's my other theory about the solopreneur and entrepreneur. If you can't do something simple, like my first business in college, because I had a scholarship, but I had to also work my way to pay for it because I went to private school. I like saw my friends get jobs, and I'm like, I grew up at a farm, so it was very entrepreneurial. And I was always in the gym, and I saw these people walking around, and this is like the mid 80s. And I looked at the owner, I said, what are they doing? He said, that's called personal training. I said, how much do they make? And he said, $40 an hour. I said, I'm a personal trainer today, literally on that day. I said, I know it more than they know it. I work out more than, but I'm saying like it was basic. And then I did aerobics. Like do the basic stuff and learn to be, here's the lesson. Do the basics, do the easy, become a darn good entrepreneur, learn marketing. You don't have to do it, but you have to lead it. You have to lead a marketing team. You have to lead the sales team. You have to lead the accounting team. So if you can't do the simple stuff, how do you ever think you're going to be an amazing entrepreneur with a difficult product or a challenging or a technical product, like in your case, like technology and fintechs? I own a fintech company. It's rough. Yeah. Like there's so many details to that. So if you don't know the basics, So I always groom families in, do the simple stuff. We'll grow into the more sophisticated stuff. But if you can't do the basics as a good entrepreneur in a corporation, doing the right tax filings, doing it right, why would you even
You don't even go. I think some entrepreneurs and I know some entrepreneurs have blocks in terms of some of those basics, or a lot of blocks, because the number one request that I get is for my financial planning package. Now, it's not financial planning in terms of your business. It's your 3-year financial forecast. I have a model for it. I have some videos on it. I coach people through it. And it's great, but they always, that's where they come to me, because they have this block that they don't know how to do finances. I just think that entrepreneurs know more than they know. How do you get them to overcome this fear that they don't know as much as they know, or these blocks? How do you get them to overcome their blocks?
Well, so 1999, 2000, when I started, my own business, I left the Rich Dad Poor Dad, I started a mastermind. I mean, mastermind before masterminds became a thing of masterminds, because I just love the Napoleon Hill style, and you talk to each other. And I've joined how many millions of dollars. I cannot tell anybody out there, if you want to be a wealth builder, you better hang out with wealthy people. People always say, if you want to be a millionaire, you better hang out with us. You have no idea. Right. You don't know how we think. You don't know how we spend our money. You don't know how, even just our lifestyle, like our decision making. You need to be close to us. And that's how I got it. Like, I just consumed, and I didn't do a lot of this. I was one of those who got on airplanes. I flew wherever I needed to fly in the world. And I sat side by side by some of the greatest people in the world, because that's how I learned it. There's like adult learning theory will support this all day long. Adults learn by modeling. So you get modeling of other successful entrepreneurs. I don't know how many times I lived in other people's offices. People would, like Dan Kennedy's one of my greatest more recent mentors. I love going to Dan's office. I love seeing the books. I love watching his library. I love watching his work pattern. You can see their work pattern. You can see how their office is laid out, how their team works. If you do not immerse yourself in being a darn good entrepreneur and be with other people, pay that time to have that mastermind. It's critical. I don't know a faster way than immerse yourself, get mentors, and get mastermind.
That's such a great piece of advice. And I think sometimes as an entrepreneur, we think of ourselves, right? And that we have to have all the knowledge, and we aren't going to have it. It's no way. We got to get out there and interact. I think that's some really, really great stuff. Any last thoughts? Anything else that we want to kind of cover before we wrap up and go to the VIP offer? Because you've covered so much.
Well, I got to go back to make money. I mean, just try a whole bunch of things. I call it the 21st century lemonade stand. You don't have to be this sophisticated influencer. Just try a whole bunch of stuff. And to that point, you don't have to be an influencer. I became a millionaire with selling not only Robert and Sharon stuff, the Rich Dad Poor Dad stuff. Once I started selling it, then people wanted text. So then I sold Sandy Buchan, and then that's how I got to know Zig Ziglar. So I sold 18 other people's stuff, which is how I got to know all the guys, Robert Allen, Mark Victor Hansen. I got to know all the team, right? The big guys, because I sold their stuff, because I didn't have any stuff. And I think so many people think they have to be the one with the content. It took me a long time. I didn't write my first big bestseller, The Millionaire Maker, till 2006. I've been in this game since 1996. It was 10 years for me to marinate and develop. So but I didn't have to stay like a solopreneur. I figured this out. I said, well, I'm going to sell other people's stuff until I get stuff. And you know what? If you never get stuff, some of the greatest entrepreneurs represent other people's brands. So I would put that in there, because I think there's so many people in this era of social media and influencers and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to be that. Just get on a team and support that brand to be great. Earn yourself some equity. That's how you earn yourself some ownership in the table.
Yeah, and you know what? I just felt the audience and myself go, we took it's almost a sigh of relief that we don't have to be influencers, because a lot of us, including myself, we don't know how to do that, right? I mean, necessarily. And, if it happens and we start to communicate our own stuff, or we develop our own stuff, that's great. But this holds true with even a product business, a software company, or what have you. You don't have to build 100% of your own product, right? You can actually, even in a software world, you can partner with 5 other software companies, and all of a sudden you're the one bringing it all together. That's a business called a systems integrator, right? And that's just a silly example in my industry, but I'm sure there are a million examples that you've seen around the same idea of just partnering. And that partnering, you're using other people's brand name, but you just said, right, to then boost yourself up.
Yep.
that then just helps you proliferate going forward. What a great strategy.
So this is Loral, and you've been listening to my podcast. If you've enjoyed this, I have a couple things you can do that are completely up to you. Number one, take my quiz. Go to integratedwealthsystems.com and take the quiz. You will find that there's one of 4 personalities, financial personalities, we call them, that you're going to fall into. So as you take the quiz, it'll actually go through and identify, are you in stagnant cash flow, right? Are you overpaying taxes? Do you have debt issues? Are you a lifestyle junkie? Where are you? And then from there, it goes to a video that actually gives you some solutions on how to correct that problem. So again, go to integratedwealthsystems.com, take my quiz, and we'll go from there.
Thanks for listening to the Real Money Talks podcast. Your host has been Loral Langemeier, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View. Want to learn more about off-Wall Street investing, tax strategies, and multi-million-dollar business strategies? Visit liveoutloud.com/podcast for past episodes, show notes, and resources. For some special wealth-building gifts only for Loral's podcast listeners, visit liveoutloud.com/podcast gifts. Do you have a burning question for Loral? Visit askloral.com to submit your question, and it may just be covered on a podcast episode. So stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to get new episodes every week.